This weekend I headed down to the Big Smoke with a group of friends to walk the Regent Canal and the Paddington Arm. Another 23 miles ticked off the list. We got an early train out of Solihull down to London Marylebone and then crossed London to Hayes and Arlington, close to the Grand Union Canal. We headed a short distance along the Grand Union Canal towpath to the start of the Paddington Arm. It was a really sunny day and it was already hot. It didn't take us long to reach the beginning of the Paddington Arm. We paused for a few minutes, took some photographs and then set off on our journey. The Paddington Arm is a 13.5-mile stretch of canal running from Bull's Bridge in Hayes to the Paddington Basin. I was pleasantly surprised throughout this trip that even though we were passing through the centre of London, the canals still retained that sense of nature and escape. As always, it was great to get out on the towpath and spend time talking with friends.
Yeah, the reflection's lovely, isn't it?
Yeah. We stopped for lunch at Esquire's Coffee at Greenford Quay. It was a much welcomed break and I enjoyed a delicious cheese toastie.
Did you say you wanted to stop for a quick nap?
We pushed on along the towpath at a fairly brisk pace, eager to reach our first pub stop later that afternoon. We enjoyed looking at the sheer range of boats. There were narrow boats, wide beams, expensive boats, boats that were a bit tattered and needed a lot of care. And then the city buildings came into view. Unfortunately, there was a fair amount of mess along the Paddington Arm's towpath, although I suppose it's to be expected from a city centre canal. We crossed over this aqueduct, which took us over the North Circular Road, and not long after that we reached our first pub stop, the Grand Junction Arms. This was a fantastic Victorian pub, with a massive amount of space out back and along the side of the canal. We had a decent rest and a couple of pints of this before moving on. I'd arranged to meet someone along the towpath who I've been speaking to on Instagram. His name is Matt and he owns a narrowboat which is currently based up in Crick. He joined us for the rest of the day and we all really loved his company, and I look forward to seeing him again soon. Our next pub stop was the Union Tavern, which was a fantastic and busy pub. We sat out the back again and enjoyed a few pints of beer and some good conversation. And not too long after that, we reached the end of the Paddington Arm and spent some time exploring Paddington Basin and the surrounding area.
This is one of the boats from the Woodfall barges thing.
Cheese barge. We ended our walk at the Alexander Fleming Wetherspoons. We had a couple of pints of beer and a lot of good laughs before heading off to a local curry house and enjoying a great curry. Thanks again to Matt from Narrowboat Poles for coming out and having a great time with us. We had rooms booked in the Paddington Premier Inn and had a well-earned sleep. The view is a bit shit though. Surprisingly, my legs weren't too bad the next morning, just a couple of blisters. So we headed back round to the Sir Alexander Fleming for Weatherspoon's breakfast. After fueling up on coffee and cooked breakfasts, we set off once again in search of the beginning of the Regent's Canal. The Regent's Canal is 9 miles long and runs from the Paddington Basin to the River Thames. As this canal was shorter than the Paddington Arm, and we were tired from yesterday's walk, we decided to set a more realistic pace and just enjoy the stroll along the towpath. So we retraced our steps and passed through Little Venice on the way to the beginning of the Regent's Canal.
Yeah. Get a picture of you, mate? Please.
This I've seen on Narrowscape, the puppet boat.
Oh, is it? It's great. It's cool. Really. Impressive vessel.
The puppet
Very
boat.
well old.
Proper puppet show on there. We found ourselves having to walk along roads and streets and even through people's apartment blocks to get back down to the canal due to various diversions.
It's really interesting, like how he sort of pre-plans it, so he has like a route plan that he thinks he can do. And that there. But it would be quite difficult, wouldn't it? He spent a lot of it. He did it with his mate, walking down the River Ray. He goes in, like, under a lot of buildings, isn't it? Very big bits there.
At last, we found our way back onto the towpath. We found it strange that there were people living under this bridge, and across the water was this massive house. 2 halves of society separated by murky green water. We spotted a Meg swimming calmly along the canal. It was interesting that the canal passed right through the zoo.
Egyptian.
I personally preferred the Regent's Canal to the Paddington Arm. It wasn't long before we arrived at Camden Lock and spent a little bit of time exploring and seeing what was around. This was the first time I'd been to Camden Lock in about 30 years. I seem to remember that last time I came here it was more market stalls and an overpowering stench of weed. It's clear things have come on a bit since then. Anyway, once we had a look around, we decided to push on along the towpath. Our first pub stop was the Lighterman. The towpath doesn't pass through Islington Tunnel, so we had to go up and walk around. And right through an army of excited Arsenal fans. We made it through unscathed and descended back down onto the towpath to continue our walk.
Fans.
It wasn't long before we reached the Narrowboat pub, where we stopped for a couple of pints and a delicious lunch. I had the trout, which was absolutely delicious.
That came up pretty quick. I actually saw.
It's definitely the elite pub.
Our next stop was the Palm Tree in Mile End, a Grade 2 listed building and the only surviving building in a road decimated by Hitler's bombs during World War II. This was an absolutely fantastic pub, and we really enjoyed the live music played by these guys. By this point, we were feeling the effects of the beer.
No, this is more like it. Every other trip we've done, we've only gone half a mile and then got a pint. This one, we've travelled hours. So this is a result. Go on, the lads.
Get a nice picture here, can't we?
We can.
If
you want to get to that
That'll
point,
be on
cross
you.
that bridge and go down that. It floats itself small.
Yeah.
And it's simple.
I don't mind, I'm happy to.
As we neared the end of our walk, we arrived at Limehouse Basin and found one more pub, the Grapes, to have a drink in before heading home.
Might have to go then, don't we?
That kind of seems to be the theme this weekend.
This was another really decent pub, and it had an excellent view of the River Thames out the top window.
To think of it that like this was the
And just like that, our 23-mile hike was over. We arrived at Canary Wharf, ready to catch our train home, back to Solihull. Thanks so much for watching this video. Why not subscribe and come along as I walk all 2,000 miles of Britain's canal towpaths.
Welcome to Colitis.